Joining us, Getzler Report, the voice of the people. We're glad to have you with us here today. We're talking now with Tim Cox, who is the founder and president, head guru of a group called Go. And it's not just Go, it's Go, it's G-O-O-H. Tim, welcome to the Getzler Report. We're glad to have you joining us here today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We are broadcasting live from the Capitol here in Tallahassee, where it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy, but I think it probably doesn't compare to Washington. Why don't you tell us a little bit, give our listeners a little bit about your background, and then tell us about Go. We've heard a lot about it, and this is a great opportunity.
Okay, let me first make sure we don't have an echo. Are you hearing that?
I am not, but it may be. If you're tuned in by the internet, you'll need to mute your internet connection, because that will cause a little bit of a feedback situation.
Yeah,
I'm not hearing any feedback at this point.
Yeah, this won't work. Let me hang up and call you back. I'm sorry about that, but
that's okay. Go ahead. We will wait till he reconnects with us. It's amazing to me that we can do any of this, but we are up to speed, thanks to Xander, on all of our technical aspects of broadcasting here, and the Phoenix Network is, of course, top of the line for broadcasting, and the fact we can do any of this is amazing to me. So just let me know when he's back on, or we'll get Tim to tell us a little bit about Go, G-O-O-O-H, Get Out of Our House, which is a nonpartisan, probably bipartisan, tripartisan effort to evict career politicians from the Congress. And boy, isn't that the truth? Our founding fathers never intended for anyone to be there more than a couple terms. They thought you'd, leave the plow and sacrifice, go to Washington, serve as a member of the United States Congress, return home, get behind the plow, and continue your life. They never had any idea people would be there for 30, 40, 50 years earning stipends and God only knows what else. Is Tim back with us now?
Yeah, I am back, but it's really low, so I'm going to have to listen closely. If you guys can hear me okay, I'll go ahead.
I can hear you fine. I don't know what the feedback issue is there. Well, go ahead and tell us about Go. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then what made you decide to go ahead and create this group.
Okay, yeah. Well, so Go is a plan to elect citizen legislators in Washington instead of these career politicians. What we know is 90% of the people in this country disapprove of the job Congress is doing, yet the system is so rigged that 95% of all incumbents get reelected. And the problem is, it's almost impossible to change that. So what I did was I took a different look at how would you approach this problem. And I start by saying I'm a computer guy. I'm not a political guy. I got a computer science degree from the University of Texas, and I've worked on things like the KH-11 spy satellite. I helped build the first credit card reading gas pump. I worked over at Dell for a dozen years where we kind of changed the way you buy and build and sell computers. And so all my life I've used technology to change things and get different results. So I approached this problem of 95% incumbents getting reelected from a systems perspective. How could we change the system so that we could elect true citizen legislators? And that's what Go is. Go is not a third party. It's a process where we can choose candidates all across the country. The people that participate in the process do the choosing, not some Go headquarters guys, but the people. And then we work together to get those, hopefully, 435 candidates for the United States House of Representatives elected against the incumbents in the primaries.
Well, that's quite an ambitious plan. You already have, we saw, and I know the Phoenix Network is running today, a news release that went out yesterday indicating that you all have announced your first candidates, which are coming out of the great state of Texas, or I should say the great Republic of Texas. Tell us a little bit about that process, and this is sort of pretty exciting news to have and I've run congressional campaigns, and they are not, school board races. I mean, they're very, very involved, usually very expensive efforts. So I commend you for this first slate of candidates. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we started this back in 2007. We've had almost 2.5 million visitors to our website. We have over 100,000 or almost 100,000 active members now. And what we've done is Texas had the earliest filing deadline in the nation, so we started the selection process here, and we've chosen some phenomenal candidates. Kind of our favored one to speak about, just because so many people know him, is Sheriff Richard Mack, the guy that fought the Brady bill all the way up to the Supreme Court. Strong constitutionalist, a member of Oath Keepers, head of the sheriff's program nationally. He was the guy chosen in what we think is going to be District 21 in Texas after the lines settle by the peers in his district. And now he has filed with the FEC, and if Texas ever gets redistricting settled, he'll file here in Texas, and he'll be running. We have other guys like Eddie Traylor, a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. We have a guy named Eric Klingeman, a West Point graduate. Jane Cross is a small business owner and college lecturer down in the Valley of Texas. And that's just the start. And what we're looking for now is leaders across the nation, people like those listening right now, to contact us and say, hey, I'll help lead the effort in my district, and we'll walk you through the process of how you can go with your peers and find candidates. And then we fund these candidates, and we help them get on the ballot, and we host websites for them, and we do lots of things so that they'll have a chance to succeed. We know that individually the chances of winning are almost nil, like 5% or less if they just compete one-on-one against the incumbent. But the strategy is to identify hundreds of candidates and work together collectively to get the nation behind these non-politician candidates, to get behind our citizen legislators. And we believe if we can do that in mass and have hundreds of candidates, then we can take down the establishment.
We're talking with Tim Cox, and his website is GOOH, which is GOOH.com, go.com, and GO stands for Get Out of Our House. So you can go there. Now, Tim, when you say you're going to help finance these candidates, congressional races are hugely expensive. GO has resources that they can put behind some of these candidates as far as like helping them with qualifying, things like that?
Well, we have a strategy, if you will. So we have some resources. Like we can only give up to $5,000 to an individual candidate. That's just a drop in the bucket. But what we can do, we're what's called a conduit company. We can raise funds from all across the nation to funnel to or earmark to all of these candidates. Our strategy is for people to become members of GO, and that takes only an email address to join. And then we ask them to donate, and most are giving $100 or so, and we pool that money and kind of divide it. When you go to the GO website now and make a contribution, you can give all the money to GO, or you can give it to each of the candidates, or all of it to any one candidate. So all we're doing is kind of serving as a conduit for these candidates so that they can have the funds they need. By competing in the primaries against the incumbent, you don't need that $1 million number that you always hear about. You need a much smaller number. And if we can get the momentum and get hundreds of candidates together and get the nation rallied around this idea, we believe we can raise ample funds. Our challenge has been getting the attention of the national media. For the most part, they ignore us. One time, Fox and Friends gave in. They invited us on a Sunday morning, 6:53, the week before Christmas, for a 3-minute interview. And we had
everybody was watching that
members that day. They told us in writing that was the greatest response they had ever had to a show, yet they've never responded to us again. So we know if we can ever tell this story on national, kind of primetime television, we won't have tens of thousands. We will have millions of Americans on board with us and helping to fund these candidates. And by doing that, that's how we can win.
Well, tell us, Tim, how are you targeting the 435 members of Congress? Of course, some of them are good members of Congress. How are you targeting the targets that you're coming up with?
So there's no question that there's good members. But let me ask you this. Do you believe in competition? And do you believe that competition makes people better? Right? Now, most people say, well, of course it does, right? We have the Super Bowl, or we have, the full season, the basketball tournament. Anything we do in America, we have competition, and the best rise to the top. Well, the political system is probably the only